WFM, and just like we said last Saturday, we remain grateful for Women Radio WFM for the widows' inclusion in widows' agenda. And one of the things that we started when we started, apart from the radio program, A Widow's Window, we started a charity walk 2017, and we had it 2017, 18, 19, before the COVID, and the 2020, 2019, you know, walk, and the theme was End Every Widowhood's Rights That Violates Women's Dignity. And one of the things that we did based on Stella, I mean, we remember Rose, the lady that we brought here, her story was something that people could not believe that it happened in this 21st century. And many more that is even worse than that has happened. And one of the things we did that time was to design a widow's protection bill. Because, widowhood, if you go to VMPP, Violence Against People Prohibition Act of Nigeria, you will see inside it a clause, just end widowhood practices on widows. That was what you could see on the VMPP. And we said, no, this is just a lock-in of the issues of widowhood that makes it to continue to be transmitted down onward. And we designed a legal structured framework that is targeted on widows' issue. And I remember after when we designed it, I would try to contact one or two people who went to National Assembly. Cut the long story short, so many things happened. And unfortunately, I was introduced to one of my church members, Honorable Ade Odogun, at just one for the first time inside the house. And I showed him the bill and told him about it, and he was interested. And he picked it and went into the House of Assembly. Even though we continue to register our dislike, our complaint about non-inclusion or credit of where the initiation came about. As you go into the internet, you see some of the upload they were giving, and the reason that it will be a credit to the Ninth Assembly for passing such bill. Well, it is a credit to them, and we are grateful to them, but we will still complain. I personally will still complain that until we begin to let Nigerians take some credit of some of the things we do and not turn so many things into political scores, we will continue to lock. Because I remember when this bill came, when I started it, people approached me. Some person in the house, national, was approaching me, come out, introduce you to this, let's sell it to this person. I said, I'm not interested in selling. I don't know how much, I'm still very poor. But my idea is not to sell. My idea is that this is an experience I had. And based on experience and based on my knowledge, I need to make a change. Let it be something that tomorrow when my grandchildren look back at, they will say, this, even though their grandmother went through this, but this is what she achieved from that. But that's by the way. Today, we're looking at the bill. Call us on 07000 917 917. We are looking at the bill protection bill. And if you go to our social media, Facebook, we have tagged the prepared bill that we sent to them, and we shared. The beautiful thing, and that has been so delightful to us, is that having introduced this discussion, and the House of Assembly, Federal House of Assembly, started it, and it now gave it spurred out the state governors, which Rivers State Governor and the Benue State Governor, the past Rivers State Governor and Benue State Governor, keyed into this new wave, and they passed the same bill in their states. But today we are looking at some of the bill where, the thing about this is that while I'm a teacher and a widow that has the experience, the technical action and this and the whatever, we had to engage the people in the house that did it for us. And I remember some of the things, like I said, I can't read it all to you here. The bill that we sent to them, we had, one of the things we put there is 23rd of May, that should be made National Day for Elimination of Violence Against Widows, Women, and Girls. One of the things we've been writing again too is to the UN Women. I have written several letters to them. I have written, and I'll continue to write. I've copied it to any person that I have. When we talk of the UN Women talk about omission, that widows has suffered the sin of omission. That was part of their discussion in 2015 when Lord Lumba was bringing out 2005 when Lunga was providing and working towards widowhood and issue. Lord Lumba is from India. And I remember, if you look at, you said the sin that widows have suffered sin of omission. And I remember that I wrote to them that the biggest sin of omission is the elimination of widows in November 25th. That is said International Day for Elimination of Violence Against Women and Girls. And I referred to them. They have a day for International Day of the Girl Child. They have a day for International Women's Day. And they have a day for International Widows Day. So how can you come on a day you're fixing to eliminate the violence against these people? You remove the widows. That is the beginning of omission. Because having these 3 international days, I applaud and appeal to them that it remains naming it or renaming it, whatever it is, International Day for Elimination of Violence Against Widows, Women, and Girls is an appropriate thing that begin the inclusion of widows. But that's a discussion for another day. We will continue to advocate for these things. The idea is until we begin to include widows, until we begin to make this inclusion, that these people are enough. Like this year, International Widows Day. I mean, one of the things article I was reading from UN, the first thing they say, widows are women, and women have rights. Every widow is a woman, irrespective of today's everything. A widow is a woman. A widower is a man. So every woman, like we always say, that every woman is a potential widow. Once you say I do, widowhood is in the life cycle of every woman. Forget the non-Nigerian, God forbid, it's not my portion. I reject it. We will continue to reject it. We will continue to do, but we must realize that this is the reality. And why we are rejecting it and pray that it's not our portion, we, each and every one of us, especially women, should pay attention to this thing. Because God forbid, but it happens to somebody. Because even as a Christian, even in the church, till death do you part. One day, that death, day one, that is what they said to us on our wedding day. But one day, it becomes somebody's reality. What do you do when you are not informed about what is happening to this set of people, and it happens to you? What do you do when this thing happens to you? How can you prevent it so it doesn't happen to you, your sister, or your brother, or your daughter? So I'm looking at the Widows Protection Bill as we submitted it earlier on in 2019, because the first time we submitted it to them through the Honorable was in 2019. And then one of the things we said to them, they divided the professional divided it. I wasn't me. I just brought out all the points based on personal experience and every other experience we have encountered in the process of the journey, working as a widow and as a manor hope. So we said they had the regulators, the people that will regulate it. I'm not going to put in this detail because I want us to now make the discussion. What is the benefit and how can we act? So they looked at the people, they put in the regulators that have the power to make these rules, to promote it and provide it, maintain it and register. One of the things I saw inside it when the professional tidied it up for us is that maintain a register of such widows, a register, and that's what gave birth to widows database that followed our action in 2020. The widows database is still in process, and it's unfortunate because of the way we have presented widows, and the widows have seen themselves. There's this it's unfortunate so many people keep calling. I have registered in this database. They have not given me anything. The reality is a database is needed to know the number of widows. And with that, with a legal bill targeted to widows, we will know how to structure things, facilities that will benefit these women, with this group of women, if we have a database of them. So that is where I wanted to bring this out. That is where the second action that was initiated, Nigeria database, because the only database we had what has always been the one you refer to, the same Lord Lumba, based on the 3.5 million or 2005. Then you go into the, but now, even though today so many other people are bringing out estimated, suggested um, database of widows, but we are saying a structured legal framework, with a structured legal framework and a database, it will be appropriate thing to begin the journey of addressing the issue of widowhood. And that's for the two. Then the next one, you go to the, you have gainful employment, you have other things. If you go to our social media, because I can't read it here because of time, I want to present it so that we can now talk, and I would like you to call in and give us your suggestion, your advice on what to do, what we can do further now going forward. Because like what the honorable that presented it put in the house, that it will be a gain of the Ninth Assembly. That is to their own importance, but to our importance, why they are gaining it, it is not just a score. We don't want it to just be a score that the members will put in their scorecard, we put in their CVs. We approved this, we did this and this. We want to now take it beyond that, because that has always been part of our problem. Our problem is that we legislate this thing, we keep it in the file, we take it as part of the legislature, take it as part of their job. They have done their own. How do we take it down and make it and transmit it into the society, so that it will begin the process of a new culture for women in widowhood? Then we looked at the other part two. The part two talked about the miscellaneous provision. And what did I pick out of there? Out of that miscellaneous provision was where we included 23rd of May every year should be declared a national day. You know, one of the things I found not satisfying is, this thing about us sitting down. There are so many things I have initiated. I see widows both in US and this thing telling to me, it is what you are doing that we are using to do what they are doing. And it's so unfortunate, because some of these things now we will bring it out and we initiate it. We doesn't get involved. Our system doesn't look at it, maybe because it didn't come from the influencer and everything. Then the people out of the country will take it and magnify it, and we go back there to buy something that our people initiated. That's part of the things that we need to begin to address. And that's one of the reasons we said the international body has done their own. We have written to them asking them to include widows on the November 25th program. We are still working on that. One day it will become maybe another person, anybody that can take it up to and achieve it and take it as his credit. Please go ahead. The most important thing is that let's change this thing. So we now said we can do it. We don't have to wait for. Let's have a national day now. To now say to ourselves, we have a national day for elimination of violence against widows, women, and girls. And it put in places some of the activities of information, advocacy, change, or everything that we do in other international days of similar thing, is what we should putting it now to suit our environment, suiting it now to be conducive, to cover what is peculiar to us. And that is what was in the provision. Then we came to part 3, which is the abolition. So that is where I'm going to read to you some of the recommended, most of the things we recommend. Say, upon the demise of her husband, no widow should be compelled to express her sorrow by losing her husband. Remember, compel, and they put in most of this our traditional wear, black and so on and so forth. The compel, that's the word. Or to go into seclusion for a length of time. I was secluded for 28 days. Some people today, they said the other day I was talking to a widow, I think she said 14 days, and some of the things you just find, you say you sleep alone, you sleep with the corpse of these are part of the things we say. The hair part of it. The idea is, don't enforce these things on these women, because it is a humiliation, is a degrade, it degrades the woman in the widowhood, and at the same time it showcases the women in widowhood from the vulnerable part of abuse to the community, or make to swear an oath. I mean, we brought a story here of a widow that we shared her voice in she sent to us. And the widow, she has agreed to come to radio with me. One of these days we'll bring her. How did she acted when from Benin just this year? So when the husband died, when they brought her, they put cola on the corpse of the body and made her to use her mouth just to show that she didn't kill didn't kill the husband. She did the swearing in. She swear out the swear, and they put a board across the grave they have dug and asked her to walk across it, only to prove. And I remember when she said this story, and I remember she ended this. She said, "To the glory of God, I passed the test." That was her. What of I remember I said it that day. I could have fallen inside there because I'm afraid of height. If I have to go and I'm not straight, I'm not balanced. With that kind of, I remember when my husband died, my emotional strength, both physical and mental strength, and the fear of the phobia I have of on height, I would have fallen inside that place. And what it would have meant is that I killed my husband, and the rest would have been history by now. So these are part of the things we are asking, that the Lord let it be in black and white, so that people doesn't hide under this thing. And they provided penalties and for all sorts of this thing. And I'm glad to say to you that today, all these things we have said, like we said last Saturday, has been passed by the House of Assembly, House of Representatives. And that was last ninth House of Assembly. Funny enough, you see how time flies. Just a day can change everything, because now we're talking of past ninth House of Assembly. On the February of this year, they passed it on and they passed it and sent it to to Senate for concurrence, and we are waiting for that. But let me go back to one of the things that they passed on that I will now want us to talk on. So if you go, if you hit your Google now, if you hit it, the right, the amended Widows Protection Bill, you will see so many options from media reporting it that can help you read about it. He said, this one I'm reading from one of the main. He said the proposed registration that seeks to amend the Violence Against People Prohibition Act of 2015 is sponsored by Adejoro, which is the honorable we gave the bill to. I remember I gave him a hard copy and they sent it to him on his email. The lawmakers of Ondo and Edo respectively. It was Ondo that I sent it to. And it says, in some cultures, widows are subjected to harassment and sometimes refuse to access to their deceased husband property. The bill has proposed to amend section 6 sections of the Act to safeguard widows from violence and evil customary practices, denial of property, rape, forced marriage, and all other dehumanizing that undermine the dignity of widows. And what did they say? It says section 15 of that current act stipulates a penalty not more than 2 years as punishment for a person who subjects a widow to harmful widowhood practices, or a fine not exceeding 500,000. Isn't that? I mean, it is clearly in black and white. It is now. So I want to begin from there. Look at it. This section 15 of that sentence said now there's a penalty of 2 years to any person that subjects a widow to harmful widowhood practices, or a fine of 500,000. So it is now a law. It is in black and white. However, it says the bill seeks to raise the jail term to 7 years without an option of fine. So that is, it's interesting because the reality is the only way evil stop is for the evil people to be punished. Somebody that commits a crime should be punished. Punishment corrects. Punishment deters. And if we don't, the next person will learn from that one and they do it to another person. He said the bill also introduces 2 new sections, 38A and 32B, which reads, in addition to the rights guaranteed under the Constitution or any other national human rights instruments to which Nigeria is a signatory, a widow should have right to A, continue to live in the matrimonial home after the death of the husband. We have brought women here who has been kicked out of her house till today. Some did not go back, especially those that don't have children. I know one till today. Some went back, but they went back to empty. Everything has. I remember Sarah. We brought Sarah here 2019. I can't remember present because it's somebody that introduced us through the work. And that's why we got to, please, if you're in Lagos, the work is coming back. You know, we were almost getting to Port Harcourt, first state, when COVID came and we all shrank. This year, we are starting back to grow into the state because Sarah saw us through the work. Somebody told her, and they said she came to the workplace in Ikeja. I wasn't there that year. And somebody now was looking for me. Somebody told her I was not. Then they gave her my number and she called me. She told me her story and I invited her here. Sarah had a child. She built her home with her husband of few years. I can't remember exactly, but she had a 18 months baby when the husband died. And her husband died of cancer-related illness. So the husband sapped the remaining income they had. What happened? The day the husband was being buried, the in-law tricked her out of her house with a dress that she was wearing that they were going to do ceremony and changed the key. She never went back to that house. She stayed on the street for a year and 18 months with a cloth and for herself, which she was wearing it, and her daughter. She stayed in her mother's house, parents' house. But fortunately, when we brought her here and she told her story, we called on the family and everything and told them if they don't do anything, we will call her back and call names, especially her brother-in-law that was involved, who was a pastor or who is a pastor. I don't know if he's still. And to the glory of God, after that radio talk, I think people reached out to the man and they called Sarah. Today, she has collected her house, even though an empty house. So this is what we are talking. Today, now the law is saying it. It is illegal. And it said the widow should continue to live in her husband's house until she remarries. Even if she remarries, as long as that property belongs to her and her husband, it's inside the law that it still remains. Because that is one of the things, especially from where I come from. I come from the Igbo land. That is one of the things that holds a lot of widows, young widows, of remarrying. The fear of losing the husband property and going out with the children alone. So the law is saying to her, whatever she has, even if she remarried, she's going to inherit it. That she should be allowed to inherit it, and nobody should inherit her property. He even went further to talk about the child. As long as a widow is sane, there is nothing wrong with her. Nobody should collect her child. We have brought a widow here. Her child was tactfully collected from her to travel abroad. She had 2 kids. They brought the son. They were supposed to leave this country, but fortunately for her, the in-law didn't succeed after the burial of the husband, and they took the child to Port Harcourt. For 2 years, this woman did not see her son. And even when she reached out, the voice record of the sister-in-law and the brother-in-law threat to her of how they will maim her if she dares come to pick the child. The woman was in Port Harcourt and the family is in Lagos. To the glory of God, when we mentioned it on radio, one of the human rights activists, we approached her, somebody directed to her, we approached her, and she went on to the family, and she went looking for that family, and she got the boy. And to tell you, the very day he went to see the boy had a big burn on her body, burn that looked like an abuse, either from iron or whatever. And when they asked the family, because they have doctored in the child under fear and everything, they said whether the boy sat inside hot water, because yes, it was on her butt, it was on his butt, it was a boy. Whether the boy sat, this is a boy that is about 7 or so, because it's a big boy, sat inside hot water. But from the story, later when the mom took the child home, it was obvious that it was things they had to. But fortunately for the woman, all these things were happening just at the time that she was about to pick that child. So what would have happened to that child if we didn't pick that child at that point? So that is the Widows Protection Bill we are talking to you today. And remember that I say part of the things they say is that they have to have a database. I mean, like, we translated into further, but they said registered document of these women, of these widows. So, and that gave birth to the database. If you go to our website, www.almanahope.org, Almana Hope is ALMANAH. Then you put hope. Go to Facebook, you will see our website, Almana Hope. Go to website, you will see it. If you're a widow, go and register. It is a database. It is putting the record of widows. What will it help? It will help to design facilities. It will help to capture the number of the working widows, the number of the poor widows, or the financially disabled widows, and it will help to know the widows. Because one of the things I advocate when it comes to all these NGOs and empowerment, widowhood has different size and class. They are the one that needs the older. Even in the Bible, as a Christian, the Bible said it. There's a widow from 60 up. They are older and they need support. That is where, even if you look at the part of the things we put in, welfare packages. What do you put? It depends. How can we? I mean, if you go into the system and read up the developed world, they went through these things, and the time they began to have a change or relief is when the system began to have this structural welfare package that they were given. Where is the educational loan a widow can pay? If a widow knows that she can go and borrow money here to support her child education, it makes it easy for her to do her trade. One of the reasons that it seems that widows, their businesses are not striving or not surviving is because that small SME she starts, the load on it is too much. There is no medical place that is designed for her to support and cushion. This is what we keep saying, even as NGO, even as government, even as state government, federal, local government, we need to begin to have a designed support facilities that will support these women in widowhood, because that is where we can now begin to have women raise their children, so that your children, I mean, I have a widow that she didn't send her daughter to second university after secondary. So I remember asking to her, and she said to me that she wants the son. This one, the son, and these are part of the women abuse. And people will say, "Will they blame her?" You don't blame her so much, because these are part of the things we were indoctrinated. So what are we saying? Widowhood Protection Bill is already there. This year, 2023, Widows Day, we are organizing a charity walk on the 24th of June. If you're in Lagos, mainland, come and join. Women, remember it says widows are women. They didn't say widows are alien. The widows are women. If you come and join us, if you're in mainland, meet us by Alausa in front of ShopRite. That is where we kick off, 7 a.m. If you're in Island, meet us at Freedom Way in front of the Dome Church. That is where we kick off. Let's continue to work. Let the theme we have been using for this: eliminate every widowhood practices or rights that violates women's dignity. Until we meet again next Saturday, please play safe, and please, widows are mothers, sisters, daughters, wives, and friends. They are not alien. Pay attention. Get involved. It might be you. It might be somebody you know. See you next Saturday. Choose, little sister, because we're about to blast off.